Moving on to our next story, Syrian rebels claim they seized control of the southern city of Daraa, the birthplace of a 2011 uprising against President Bashar al-Assad, and the fourth city his forces have lost in a week. The rebels are now battling Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces from two directions, the north and the south, in an attempt to close in on Damascus.
Rebels on motorcycles stormed into the streets of Daraa on Saturday, the birthplace of the 2011 uprising against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Social media videos captured scenes of local fighters celebrating their takeover of the symbolic city, marking another blow to Assad's crumbling control. The rebel momentum has pushed them to the outskirts of Homs, a strategic city linking the capital to Assad's coastal power base. Daraa's fall is the latest in a string of high-profile defeats for Assad's forces. In less than a week, rebels have seized Aleppo, Hama, and now Daraa, inching closer to Damascus. The shockwaves from this offensive are reverberating across Syria. In Sweida Province, officials abandoned critical government buildings while local fighters seized control of key checkpoints, further dismantling Assad's authority in the south. Meanwhile, Iran has reaffirmed its unwavering support for Assad's regime. Iranian foreign minister met with his Iraqi and Syrian counterparts in Baghdad as Tehran doubled down on its alliance.
The threats of terrorism in Syria will not be limited to Syria, and it is a threat to all neighbors and the entire region. If Syria becomes the shelter for terrorists, with the return of ISIS and other terrorist groups, it will create a great threat to the region, and this threat will definitely not be limited to Syria and will accelerate into Syria's neighboring countries such as Iraq, Jordan, and Turkey.
The US is also keeping a close eye on developments. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with his Turkish counterpart to discuss developments on Saturday. In view of the deteriorating security situation in Syria, India issued an advisory to citizens to avoid all travel to Syria until further notice. The US and Russia have also asked their citizens to leave the country immediately. At least 370,000 people, mostly women and children, have now been displaced in Syria due to the latest escalation in fighting, according to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The ongoing fighting in Syria is expected to displace around 1.5 million people, says the UN World Food Programme. This is a breaking point for a food crisis in the country where 12.9 million people are already considered food insecure. Bureau Report, DD India.